Amara Wilson had always believed in control. Control over her career. Control over her image. Control over her heart. That belief shattered the moment her ex-boyfriend laughed at her in front of 300 people. The Lagos Tech and Media Awards glittered beneath golden chandeliers, cameras flashing like small explosions of light. Influencers, investors, journalists, the city's most powerful eyes were watching. Amara stood on stage in a midnight blue dress, clutching a glass trophy she had fought years to earn. Best Digital Marketing Strategist. Her name echoed through the hall. Applause roared. And then, the whispers began. She spotted her ex, Daniel, near the front table. He leaned toward a group of investors, smirking as he scrolled through his phone. Seconds later, laughter rippled across the room. Amara's smile faltered. Her assistant rushed toward her, face pale. "Ma'am, Twitter is blowing up. Daniel posted something." Amara forced herself to keep smiling until she reached backstage. The moment she saw the screen, her breath caught. Private voice notes. Cropped messages. Carefully edited screenshots. All twisted to make her look manipulative and desperate. Her chest tightened. "Congratulations to my ex for winning awards while stepping on people who loved her," Daniel had captioned the post. The narrative spread instantly. The applause outside faded into a suffocating silence inside her head. That night, headlines shifted from celebrating her success to questioning her character. And for the first time in years, Amara Wilson lost control. 3 days later, she made a decision that felt reckless and strangely liberating. She would hire a fake boyfriend. Not just any fake boyfriend. Someone polished, confident, impossible for Daniel to mock. Someone who could stand beside her at events, shift public attention and silence rumors without a single confrontation. It was supposed to be simple. A business arrangement. A temporary illusion. No feelings. No complications. She contacted an elite lifestyle agency known for providing professional companions to executives. Her request was precise. Educated, discreet, charismatic, foreign enough to spark curiosity. She expected a model. A charming entrepreneur. Maybe a quiet actor trying to build a career. What she didn't expect was Sung Jin-woo. The night they met, Lagos was drowning in rain. Thunder rolled over Victoria Island, neon lights reflecting across flooded streets. Amara sat inside a private rooftop lounge, rehearsing boundaries in her head. No emotional attachment. No secrets shared. No real intimacy. The elevator doors slid open, and the room changed. Sung Jin-woo stepped out like he had walked straight out of another world. Dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit, dark eyes calm but watchful, movements measured like a man used to being observed. He didn't smile immediately. He scanned the room first. Not casually, professionally. His gaze lingered on exits. Shadows. Security cameras. Then it settled on her. For a moment, Amara forgot every line she had rehearsed. He approached slowly. "Ms. Wilson," he said, voice low, accented but fluent. "I apologize for the delay." Something about him felt dangerous. Not obvious danger. Not loud or aggressive. Quiet danger. The kind that stood still and watched. She forced a confident smile. "You're the companion?" He tilted his head slightly. "If that is what you wish to call this arrangement." His answer was careful, almost evasive. Amara brushed it off. She explained the situation, the ex-boyfriend scandal, the public events coming up. Sung Jin-woo listened without interrupting, fingers resting lightly on the table. When she finished, he nodded once. "I will protect your reputation," he said. The words were oddly specific. Not, "I will act." Not, "I will pretend." Protect. A strange chill crawled across her skin. Still, she signed the contract. What Amara didn't know was that Sung Jin-woo wasn't from any companion agency. The agency email had been intercepted. Her request had triggered attention from an entirely different world, one she didn't even know existed. Because Sung Jin-woo wasn't a professional date. He was a strategist within a powerful Korean underworld network, currently tracking a money laundering operation stretching from Seoul to West Africa. And one of the names linked to the investigation? Daniel. Her ex-boyfriend. Jin-woo hadn't come to pretend. He had come to observe. To gather information. and possibly, to use her as bait. Their first public appearance together was supposed to be a controlled debut. A luxury art gala. Cameras everywhere. Influencers live streaming every second. Amara arrived first, nerves tight beneath her calm exterior. The whispers started immediately. Is that her? She looks different. I heard she hired a foreign investor. Then the doors opened behind her. Sung Jin-woo entered. Flashbulbs exploded like fireworks. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Even seasoned socialites turned to look. He didn't hold her hand right away. He stood slightly behind her, as if guarding her blind spots. And when Daniel approached, smug smile ready, Jin-woo stepped forward with a quiet confidence that felt almost territorial. Good evening, Jin-woo said, voice calm but sharp enough to cut tension in half. Daniel's grin faltered. For the first time since the scandal began, Mar felt safe. Not just defended. Safe. But safety came with consequences. That same night as they left the gala, a black SUV began following them through the rain-soaked streets. Jin-woo noticed immediately. His expression didn't change, but his hand moved subtly toward his jacket. Amara's stomach twisted. Are we being followed? He didn't answer right away. Instead he changed routes twice. The SUV remained behind them. When they finally reached her apartment building, Jin-woo's calm facade cracked, just slightly. You cannot stay here tonight, he said. What? Your situation is more complicated than you understand. Fear prickled along her spine. You said this was just a contract. He looked at her, really looked, and for a moment something heavy flickered in his eyes. Guilt. Conflict. Maybe regret. Nothing about you has ever been just anything, he murmured. Sirens echoed in the distance. The black SUV parked across the street. And as rain poured down like a warning from the sky itself, Amara Wilson realized the biggest mistake of her life wasn't hiring a fake boyfriend. It was hiring a man whose secrets were powerful enough to change the entire course of her future. Because the man standing beside her was not pretending at all. And somewhere across the city, a phone buzzed. Daniel stared at a photo of Amara and Sung Jin-woo leaving the gala together. His smile faded slowly as a message appeared beneath the image. Target confirmed. The Korean operative has made contact. He swallowed hard. Because the game he had started for revenge had just pulled forces into Lagos that even he could not control. And the next time Amara Wilson stepped into the spotlight, it wouldn't be for an award. It would be for survival. Amara Wilson did not sleep the night after the gala. Rain tapped endlessly against her apartment windows, Lagos glowing beneath a restless sky. Her phone buzzed every few minutes. Messages from clients, journalists, concerned friends, and strangers who suddenly had opinions about her life. But the message that stayed in her head wasn't from social media. It was from Sung Jin-woo. You cannot stay here tonight. He had insisted she move to a secured executive residence owned by one of her corporate partners. A building with restricted access, underground parking, and real security personnel instead of polite doormen. At first she resisted. She hated feeling displaced. But when she saw the black SUV again, parked 2 blocks away the next morning, she stopped arguing. By noon she sat across from Jin-woo in a quiet conference room overlooking the Atlantic. He looked different in daylight. Less like a shadow, more like a man carrying too many thoughts behind still eyes. He had already arranged her temporary relocation, coordinated with her assistant, and reorganized her upcoming public appearances. None of that was in their contract. She folded her arms. You're doing more than pretending to be my boyfriend. He met her gaze calmly. Your situation has evolved. That's not an explanation. He paused, measuring his words carefully. There are individuals monitoring you now. If your reputation collapses completely, certain financial interests could benefit. So this is corporate rivalry? In part. It wasn't a lie. Just not the whole truth. Amara leaned back in her chair. You keep saying things like a security consultant instead of an actor. I told you, he replied quietly, I will protect your reputation. There was that word again. Protect. She exhaled slowly. Fine. But I need honesty about what you can tell me. No surprises that put my life in danger. A flicker of guilt crossed his face, so brief she almost missed it. You have my word, he said. It was the closest thing to a promise she would get. Outside the building, two men watched through tinted car windows. She moved locations, one muttered. Boss says wait, the other replied, eyes fixed on Jinwoo as he escorted Amara into a waiting car. The Korean wasn't supposed to be part of this. Amara's career did not pause just because her life had become complicated. Within days she had to attend another major event. A tech investment summit filled with venture capitalists, media personalities and people who loved gossip more than innovation. Her assistant handed her a tablet in the car. Public opinion is shifting again. People are curious about your new boyfriend. Some think he's a secret investor. Jinwoo sat beside her, silent but attentive. Good, Amara said. Curiosity is better than scandal. The car slowed as they approached the venue. Photographers lined the entrance like a wall of flashing lights. Her heartbeat quickened. Remember, Jinwoo said quietly, stay slightly to my left when we walk in. She frowned. Why? Better camera angles, he replied smoothly. It was true, but also allowed him to keep his dominant hand free and his body between her and the crowd. They stepped out together. Flashbulbs exploded. Reporters shouted questions. Amara. Who is he? Is this your new partner? Are you moving to Seoul? She felt the familiar performance mode take over. Shoulders straight, smile calm, steps measured. Jinwoo didn't speak much. He let her lead conversations. But his presence changed everything. The whispers that once carried judgment now carried intrigue. Inside, however, tension simmered. Daniel stood near the main stage watching them. His smile was tight. He approached slowly. Amara, he said, voice dripping with fake warmth. You look, well. She held his gaze without flinching. Thank you. His eyes shifted to Jinwoo. And you are? Sung Jinwoo, he said calmly. Her partner. Daniel's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Interesting. I didn't realize Amara was outsourcing loyalty now. The insult hung in the air. Before Amara could respond, Jinwoo spoke, voice low but firm. Respect is not something one outsources. It is something one earns. Daniel's smile cracked. The nearby investors exchanged glances. And for the first time since the scandal began, Daniel looked like the one losing control. That evening, as the summit ended, Amara felt a strange shift inside her. She wasn't pretending confidence anymore. She was regaining it. In the car, she glanced at Jinwoo. You handled him well. I observed, he replied. His reactions are predictable. You sound like you're studying him. Silence lingered. Then he said, people who attempt public humiliation often rely on deeper leverage. What does that mean? It means this situation may not be only personal. Her stomach tightened. You think Daniel is involved in something bigger? Jinwoo didn't answer directly. I think you are standing closer to a storm than you realize. That night, Amara returned to the secured residence feeling restless. She walked onto the balcony overlooking the city. Traffic lights flickered like distant constellations. Lagos was loud, alive, unstoppable. But she felt watched. Not by crowds. By something unseen. Her phone buzzed with an unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. A distorted voice whispered, you should have stayed quiet. The line went dead. Her pulse raced. Inside, Jinwoo's posture changed the moment he saw her expression. What happened? She told him. His jaw tightened slightly, the calm strategist slipping just enough to reveal something darker underneath. We need to adjust your schedule, he said. No solo appearances. No unscreened calls. This is getting extreme, she whispered. Yes, he said softly. Because the threat is becoming real. Later that night, while Amara slept, Jinwoo stood alone in the hallway, speaking quietly into a secure phone. She's receiving direct threats now, he murmured in Korean. A voice on the other end replied sharply. Your mission is surveillance, not attachment. He watched the door to her room. Understood, he said. But his voice carried hesitation. Across the city, Daniel sat in a dim office surrounded by screens displaying financial data and news feeds. One of his associates approached nervously. The Korean operative is interfering more than expected. Daniel slammed his hand on the desk. He was supposed to be an observer, not a shield. What do we do? Daniel stared at a photo of Amara laughing beside Jinwoo. Escalate, he said quietly. If she feels safe, we remind her that safety is temporary. The next morning began like any other. Until the explosion. It wasn't large enough to destroy the building, just a controlled blast in the underground parking garage of the investment firm where Amara had a meeting scheduled. No casualties. But the message was clear. As emergency sirens wailed, Jinwoo pulled Amara behind him, scanning exits, calculating threats with terrifying precision. Her hands trembled. This isn't about reputation anymore, she whispered. No, he said. For the first time since they met, his calm mask slipped entirely. This is war, and you are in the middle of it. The explosion changed everything. It was small enough to avoid mass panic, but loud enough to send a message that echoed through every part of Amara Wilson's life. No one said it publicly, but everyone felt it. She was no longer just the center of gossip. She was a target. For the next few days, her world shrank into controlled routines. Secure transportation. Screen meetings. Private entrances. Jinwoo coordinated everything with unsettling efficiency. He mapped her schedule like a military operation, analyzing routes, exit points, even the lighting conditions of venues. At first it irritated her. Then she realized he wasn't being dramatic. He was being precise. One evening, as they reviewed plans in the executive residence, she finally asked what had been sitting heavy in her chest. You're not just a fake boyfriend, she said quietly. You move like someone trained for danger. He didn't look up from the tablet. I have experience with risk management. That's not an answer. Silence filled the room. Then he set the tablet down and met her eyes. There are networks that operate beyond business, he said slowly. Financial structures, criminal alliances, people who don't solve problems through negotiations. Her pulse quickened. And Daniel is part of that? His jaw tightened, confirmation without a direct confession. I believe he is connected, Jinwoo said. Which means your reputation attack was not only personal. It was strategic. The words made her stomach turn. She had thought Daniel wanted revenge. She had never imagined he might be using her for something bigger. Despite the tension, her public life had to continue. Her biggest campaign launch was scheduled for the following weekend. A televised product unveiling for an international tech brand. Canceling would damage contracts and reinforce rumors that she was unstable. So they attended. The venue was massive, LED screens glowing, cameras mounted on every wall, live audience cheering as influencers and executives mingled beneath neon lights. Amara stepped onto the stage with Jinwoo beside her, fingers brushing lightly against hers. A subtle, practiced gesture for the cameras. But something felt different this time. The touch wasn't just performance. It steadied her. During a break backstage, she caught him watching her. Not as an operative, not as a hired companion. As a man worried. You're thinking too much, she said softly. He didn't deny it. You trust people quickly. That's ironic coming from someone who barely trusts anyone. His lips twitched slightly, almost a smile. The moment lingered longer than it should have. And for the first time since this arrangement began, the air between them felt warmer than strategic. That night the internet exploded again. But this time, in her favor. Clips of Jinwoo defending her at the summit circulated everywhere. Photos of them together trended with captions like power couple and unstoppable duo. Public opinion shifted. Her career rebounded. And Daniel's narrative began to crumble. Which made him dangerous. Across the city, Daniel met with two men inside a dimly lit warehouse filled with shipping crates. You said she would collapse after the scandal, one man growled. Instead she's gaining sympathy. Daniel clenched his fists. The Korean changed the equation. Then remove him, the other said coldly. Daniel hesitated. Not because he cared about Jinwoo, but because he finally understood how deep the Koreans' connections ran. This needs to be precise, Daniel said. No public chaos. We can't attract international attention. The men exchanged knowing looks. Plans began to shift. Back at the residence, Amara's emotional defenses began to crack. Late one night, unable to sleep, she found Jinwoo on the balcony staring out at the city lights. You don't rest, do you? She asked. Rest is a luxury, he replied. She leaned beside him. Why did you really agree to this job? The question hung heavy between them. He could have lied. He almost did. But something about the way she looked at him, tired yet trusting, made the words feel heavier in his throat. I was sent here to observe financial operations connected to international laundering, he admitted quietly. Her breath caught. So, I was a mission. Yes. The honesty stung, but she appreciated it more than silence. And now, she asked. He hesitated. Now, she was more than that. More than a cover. More than a strategic asset. You are someone I cannot allow to be harmed, he said finally. The words were simple, but they landed deep inside her chest. Their first almost kiss happened by accident. A staged photo shoot for a luxury magazine required intimate poses. Hands on shoulders, whispered conversations, close eye contact. The photographer encouraged them to feel the chemistry. At first it was easy, they had practiced closeness for weeks. But then Amara laughed at something he murmured in Korean, and for a brief second, neither of them remembered the cameras. Their faces hovered inches apart. The room seemed to disappear. Jin-woo pulled back first. Not because he didn't want to cross that line. Because he knew crossing it would make leaving impossible. That night everything changed again. As their car returned from the photo shoot, a motorcycle sped past them. Too close, too fast. A package slammed onto the windshield before the rider vanished into traffic. Jin-woo reacted instantly, swerving into a secure alley and stopping the car. Inside the box was a broken phone. On its cracked screen played a video of Amara walking alone outside her old apartment days earlier. She felt her throat close. They've been watching me for longer than we thought, she whispered. Jin-woo's voice turned colder than she had ever heard. This is escalation. Later, alone in his room, he called his superiors again. I'm requesting expanded authority, he said. You're becoming emotionally compromised, the voice replied. No, he said quietly. I'm becoming realistic about the threat level. Silence. Then approval came, but with a warning. Finish the mission quickly, or be removed from it. He stared at the phone long after the call ended. Because for the first time, he wasn't sure which outcome scared him more. Amara Wilson stopped believing in coincidence the moment she realized every step she took was being watched. The broken phone, the video of her movements, the explosion, none of it was random anymore. It was calculated pressure. And pressure made secrets rise to the surface. 3 nights after the package incident, Amara returned early from a cancelled meeting. The executive residence was unusually quiet. Lights dim. Hallways empty. She walked toward the conference room and heard Jin-woo speaking Korean inside. His voice was low, sharp, controlled in a way she had never heard before. I told you the target is no longer just a surveillance asset, he said. She is actively being hunted. Silence. Then another voice crackled faintly through the speakerphone, distorted but firm. You were assigned to monitor financial links. Emotional involvement is unacceptable. Amara froze outside the door. Target. Asset. Her chest tightened. Jin-woo spoke again. If we withdraw now, she will be exposed without protection. Your responsibility is the mission, the voice replied coldly. Not the woman. The line disconnected. The silence that followed felt heavier than any explosion. Amara stepped back before he could see her, heart racing, thoughts unraveling. She wasn't just someone he cared about. She had been a mission from the beginning. That evening she confronted him. No rehearsed calm. No professional mask. Just raw anger. You said I was more than your assignment, she said, voice shaking. But I just heard you call me an asset. His eyes widened, guilt flickering instantly. You were never supposed to hear that conversation. That's not the point, she snapped. What else have you been hiding? He hesitated, and that hesitation confirmed everything. The agency I work with, he said slowly, investigates global criminal networks. Your ex is connected to one of those operations. When you requested a companion, your situation triggered our surveillance protocols. So you replaced the person I hired, she whispered. Yes. Her chest tightened like it couldn't hold air. Everything between us started as a lie. No, he said firmly. The circumstances were real. The danger is real. And my concern for you is real. She turned away, struggling to process the truth. Every memory, Their first meeting, his calm presence, the way he protected her, now felt layered with hidden motives. "You should have told me," she said quietly. "I was not allowed." "That didn't stop you from getting close." The words hit harder than any accusation. Before the argument could continue, the power went out. Darkness swallowed the room. Emergency lights flickered seconds later, red and dim. Jinwoo's entire posture changed instantly. He grabbed her hand. "We need to move," he said. Gunshots echoed faintly from the lower floors. Her heart slammed against her ribs. "This isn't a drill, is it?" "No." He guided her through service corridors he had memorized days earlier. Footsteps echoed behind them, fast, heavy, coordinated. "Stay behind me," he murmured. They reached a stairwell. Smoke curled upward from below. Someone shouted in a language she didn't recognize. As they descended, a masked man appeared at the landing, raising a weapon. Jinwoo moved before she could react, disarming him with terrifying precision. The fight was fast, brutal, silent except for the thud of bodies against concrete. Amara stared in shock. This wasn't a strategist pretending to be dangerous. This was a man who lived inside violence. They reached the underground garage. Chaos everywhere. Cars abandoned. Alarms blaring. A black van screeched toward them. Jinwoo pulled her behind a pillar just as bullets shattered the concrete. Her breath came in short bursts. "They're trying to kill us." "They're trying to capture you," he corrected grimly. He triggered a remote signal, and a secure vehicle emerged from a hidden section of the garage. He shoved her inside and sped out through an emergency exit. They drove for nearly an hour without speaking. City lights blurred past as adrenaline faded into heavy silence. Finally, she whispered, "Was any of this real?" He gripped the steering wheel tighter. "Yes," he said. "Every moment I chose to stay with you was my own decision." She wanted to believe him. But trust felt fragile now, cracked by truths she hadn't been allowed to see. They arrived at a safe house outside the city. Quiet, remote, surrounded by dense greenery. Inside, she sat on the edge of a bed trying to steady her thoughts. "I need space," she said softly. He nodded, respecting the distance. Hours passed in silence. Until she found a folder on the kitchen table. Files detailing Daniel's financial crimes, smuggling routes and international partners. Photos. Transactions. Evidence. Her entire world shifted again. This wasn't just revenge. Daniel had been using her industry connections to funnel illegal money through marketing campaigns and sponsorship deals. She wasn't just collateral damage. She was unknowingly part of his network. Jinwoo entered the room slowly. "You were never meant to be involved," he said. "But I was," she replied. "And now I'm running from something I didn't even know existed." He stepped closer but didn't touch her. "You are not alone in this," he said quietly. For a long moment they just stood there, pain and unspoken feelings filling the space between them. Then she asked the question that mattered most. "When this mission ends, do you disappear?" He didn't answer immediately, because the truth was, he didn't know. Across Lagos, Daniel watched surveillance footage of the failed attack. "They escaped," one of his men reported nervously. Daniel's eyes darkened. "Then we stopped playing games." He picked up his phone and sent a message to an unknown contact. "Initiate Phase 3. Bring her to me alive." The safe house felt too quiet. No city noise. No cameras flashing. No constant buzz of messages. Just silence. And the weight of truths that could no longer be ignored. Amara Wilson sat at the kitchen table staring at the evidence files spread before her. Daniel's transactions, shell companies, hidden offshore accounts, coded messages between international crime syndicates. Her hands trembled slightly. She wasn't just a victim. She had unknowingly been a gateway. Her marketing campaigns used to legitimize illegal funds. Every event she hosted, every sponsorship deal she secured, had been manipulated behind her back. And now, she was the only witness who could destroy everything Daniel built. Jinwoo stood near the window, scanning the perimeter with restless focus. He hadn't slept. He hadn't allowed himself to relax even for a second. But the real tension between them wasn't the danger outside. It was the distance growing between their hearts. "You should leave," Amara said suddenly. He turned. "No." "Yes," she insisted. Your organization already thinks you're compromised. If you stay, you lose everything. My position is irrelevant. It's not irrelevant to your life, she said softly. He stepped closer, voice low. You are not a liability to me. That's not what I said, she whispered. I'm saying, you deserve a life that isn't constantly at risk because of me. Silence stretched between them, heavy, painful. Because both of them knew the truth. Love had stopped being a weakness. It had become a target. 2 days later, Jinwoo received new orders. He listened quietly through an encrypted earpiece while Amara slept in the next room. Your authority has been revoked, his superior said. Return to Seoul immediately. Another operative will handle the witness extraction. He stared at the dark forest outside the window. And Amara? He asked. She will be relocated under agency supervision. A cold realization settled over him. They were planning to separate them. If you refuse, the voice warned, you will be removed from the operation permanently. The line went silent. He closed his eyes, knowing whatever choice he made next would change everything. The next morning he told her the truth. They want me to leave, he said. Her chest tightened, but she forced a calm nod. That makes sense. You're not angry? I expected it, she admitted. This was never supposed to be permanent. The words sounded strong, but her voice betrayed the ache underneath. Amara forced herself to remain calm. You'll fail, she said. People already know your name. Your empire will crumble. Daniel's eyes narrowed. And you'll be nothing if I decide to erase every trace of your existence. Outside, Jinwoo moved like a shadow. Silently, he disabled surveillance cameras, neutralized guards with swift efficiency, and approached the compound from an unguarded service entrance. Every heartbeat was measured, every breath deliberate. But even as he advanced, he knew this wouldn't be simple. Daniel had resources. This wasn't a simple kidnapping or revenge scheme. It was a trap designed to test him. Test them both. He crouched near a grated window on the side of the compound. Through it he saw Amara, alert, calculating, defiant. Relief surged through him. He was alive. That was all that mattered. And yet, every instinct screamed danger. This was more than a rescue. Every second they delayed increased the risk. Not just for them but for the entire web of people Jinwoo had been tracking. Daniel's operation extended beyond Lagos, into hidden networks stretching from Seoul to Europe. If they failed, consequences would ripple across continents. Jinwoo signaled her subtly. He had noticed her eyes scanning his movements. With a faint flick of his fingers, he indicated a plan. Distract the guards, disable the locks, escape through the service corridor. Amara's eyes widened, but she nodded subtly, trust and strategy converging. In perfect synchronization they struck. Amara feigned collapse in her chair just as Jinwoo breached the side door, taking down the nearest guard silently. The others turned, startled, and Jinwoo moved with surgical precision, neutralizing them before they could react. Amara twisted the restraints using techniques Jinwoo had taught her during their fake training sessions, the ones she had dismissed as practice. Minutes later she was free. Heart racing, adrenaline pumping, she grabbed Jinwoo's arm. Let's go, she whispered. They moved fast, ducking behind crates, evading the few remaining guards. The compound's main alarm began to blare, Daniel's final warning. They reached the gate leading to the shipping docks. The rain poured harder now, masking sounds of movement, blurring the port lights. But Daniel wasn't far behind. You think you can run? His voice boomed over the chaos. You're mine. Amara and Jinwoo sprinted toward the waiting boat, a small vessel Jinwoo had secured earlier. Guns fired behind them. Splintered wood, shouts, and bullets ricocheted around them. Jinwoo grabbed her hand tightly, pulling her into the boat. Engines roared. The vessel sped into the river, leaving the compound and the chaos behind. For a moment they allowed themselves to breathe. The rain hit their faces, the wind whipped through their hair, and the city receded into shadows. They were alive. Together. Jinwoo finally let go of her hand and looked at her, eyes scanning for injuries. Are you okay? He asked. She nodded, wet hair plastered to her face. I'm fine. For now. He didn't smile. This isn't over. She tilted her head, sensing the truth behind the words. I know. Daniel, watching from the burning ruins of his operation, clenched his fists. Fury and disbelief twisted his features. The operative he underestimated, the Korean, had done exactly what no one else could. And yet, Daniel's mind was already shifting. "This isn't the end," he whispered, pulling out his phone. "There are others who will finish what I started." Hours later, Amara and Jinwoo reached a remote hideout on the outskirts of the city. Safe for now. But exhaustion weighed heavily on them. They had survived together, yes, but each of them knew that the victory was temporary. This was only the first battle. Amara turned to him, eyes searching. "How long before they come after us again?" Jinwoo didn't answer immediately. He stared at the horizon, rain dripping from his hair, muscles tense as though anticipating an invisible attack. "They will come," he said finally. "And next time, they won't be careless." Her stomach twisted. She had survived kidnappings, assassins, and betrayals. But the thought of facing what was coming was terrifying. "You'll protect me," she whispered. "I will," he said. She could hear the conviction in his voice. But a small, gnawing doubt remained. Could he? Would it ever be enough? And then the phone rang. A number she didn't recognize appeared on the screen. Jinwoo grabbed it before she could react. He spoke in Korean, his voice sharp. His eyes widened as he listened. He turned to Amara. "It's not just Daniel. Someone else is moving. Someone bigger." Her heart sank. "Bigger." He nodded grimly. "We were never just fighting one enemy. We were caught in a web far larger than either of us realized. And now, they know where we are." Amara's eyes widened, panic and dread mingling with adrenaline. For the first time she realized their fight for survival was far from over. The camera pans outward, the hideout isolated in the middle of dense jungle. Rain pours heavily. Lights flicker from inside. A faint helicopter sound echoes in the distance. Shadows move in the trees, unseen but undeniable. Amara clutches Jinwoo's arm. "What do we do now?" He looks at her, voice low but steady. "We survive. Together. And then we fight back." The screen fades to black just as a shadow moves swiftly across the jungle, unseen by either of them, a hint of the new, more dangerous threat waiting.